Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony Yim, co-founder of Artemis. Artemis is a stablecoin analytics company trusted by Visa, PayPal, Circle, Tether, Coinbase, and more. You might know us best as from our super popular stablecoin dashboard. And we also have an enterprise offering. So if you ever have any questions about stablecoin data, how much volume there is, who's using it, what for, let me know. Previously, I was one of the early engineers of Venmo and built much of Venmo's backend infrastructure. So personally, I'm very excited to be here today because man, did I build a lot of bad code on top of some really bad infrastructure, ACH, back in my early 20s. And there's no better time than now to rip all that out and replace it with something internet native, stablecoins. Let's get into it. Look, we all know that stablecoins are hot, and that's why we're here today. But fact of the matter is, as an analytics company, we see loads and loads of sensationalist and black and white stories out there about stablecoins. So today, Artemis brings you Stablecoin Adoption Trends Mythbusters edition. Myth 1. Stablecoins are only used for trading and speculation. All the bad stuff. Bloomberg reports that 90% of all stablecoin transactions are from bots. The New York Times just last week had a huge op-ed on how crypto is a massive threat to the US financial system. So of course, it's easy for the general population to categorically dismiss blockchain technology and therefore stablecoins. But the reality is a lot more nuanced. The problem is nobody has concrete proof until now. So for the last 6 months, Artemis has been working tirelessly to commission the most ambitious study the industry has ever seen. We collaborated with over 30 stablecoin private companies around the world, including the largest players like BVNK, Binance, Conduit, Reap, and Bitso, to anonymize and aggregate their transactions so that we have, for the first time ever, a bottoms-up number on how much real KY seed and KY bead payment volume there is. And voila, here it is. For the month of February 2025, we accounted for over $6 billion of stablecoin volume transacted by KY bead and KY seed entities. This amounts to an annualized run rate of over $70 billion of transaction volume per year, growing at over 150% year over year. Not only that, we see a healthy variety of use cases. For example, B2B payments account for nearly half of the volume I showed in the previous slide, up nearly 400% year over year, with no signs of slowing down. These include companies like BVNK, or Conduit, and Reap, facilitating B2B payments for their users so sellers can make cross-border payments to their suppliers, or businesses can settle up invoices with their vendors. B2C payments also represent another fast-growing area of stablecoin adoption, particularly in use cases where individuals receive payouts, such as payroll transactions, or make recurring purchases using digital dollars. For example, Binance Pay, one of the participants in this study, has a product known as Binance as one of the participants in the study has a product known as Binance Pay, which allows for their 270 million users to check out using Binance at a POS system. We also have P2P volumes. That is, of course, one of the earliest use cases of stablecoins, offering a faster and cheaper, more accessible alternative to traditional remittance and money transfer. So recently, P2P volumes are up at an all-time high in December of 2024 at 2.2 billion of volume. But I do have to caveat that this data set is extremely conservative because we only included data from the participating firms and not from on-chain P2P volume. If you look at on-chain P2P volume, this is the Artemis estimate most recently, and it's up 250% year over year. Finally, we have on-chain credit, a small but growing category. ARF and Mansup are the two companies in the study that provide short-term capital financing to stablecoin businesses, enabling cross-border payments and supplier payouts without tying up their own cash. Since the summer of 2024, this category has been growing incredibly quickly at 330% year over year. Long story short, while we may be early, KYB and KYC stablecoin flows are thriving, and it's definitely inaccurate to assume that all that's going on with stablecoins are trading and speculation. Myth busted. Myth 2, Circle is used for criminal activity, only used for criminal activity. Again, the American media is sensationalizing, but the reality is a lot more complex. Fact of the matter is, across the 30 stablecoin companies we partner with, who KYB and KYC their users, Tether is overwhelmingly the stablecoin of choice. Nearly 90% of total B2B, B2C, P2P, and card volumes in the month of February 2025 are transacted over Tether. This overwhelming preference for Tether tracks the survey Visa conducted with Nick Carter of Castle Island Ventures and Artemis last year. Visa, Castle Island, and Artemis went and interviewed over 2,000 users across 5 emerging markets on their crypto behavior. And again, a vast majority of everyday consumers in these geographies use Tether due to word of mouth and first movers advantage. Well, most importantly, I was talking to a major stablecoin PSP that operates out of Africa yesterday. I asked them, why Tether? The answer was simple. Tether just has the deepest liquidity in all these markets, both on the on-ramp and off-ramp side. And it's also the cheapest to do transactions. These two things are really hard to beat in these markets that are extremely sensitive to price. I want to be clear though, Tether has significant first movers advantage, but Circle is no slouch. They've 3x their supply in the past 2 years and chipped away 5% of Tether's market share in the past year. Their CCTP program is utterly dominating the bridge market. They went from 0 to 50% market share in just over a year. Myth 3. Based on the previous anecdotes, you'd imagine that only Tether is prominent in emerging markets for payments, while something like USDC is primarily used in developed countries like the US or Europe. But we'd actually be very wrong. Tether, according to our data from the sampled firms, is also the #1 choice for both America and Europe. This is a huge shock to me, given that USDC's prominence in these markets. My best guess is that the counterparties for a lot of these transactions are in emerging markets, and likely these countries are also large trading partners of China. And so as a result, Binance is going to be preferred and Tether is going to be preferred. But if anyone in the audience has a better idea, I'm all ears. Myth number 4. For how much attention blockchains like Bitcoin or Ethereum get, especially in the West, you'd imagine that most of the transaction volume goes through one of these major blockchains. But again, we'd be wrong. Tron is the #1 preferred blockchain for payments, only followed by Ethereum. And for those who've been in stablecoin land for a while, it's probably not too surprising. When looking at on-chain Tron data, Tron has a majority share in P2P transaction volume, but it's really helpful to see it also reflected in the B2B and B2C data too. And finally, one of my favorite myths. Stablecoins will kill Visa and MasterCard. But according to our study, stablecoin-linked cards have been growing steadily in volume, surpassing 1 billion per month in January 2025, and growing at over 100% year over year. And in our data set, a vast majority of this transactions is over the Visa network. Even more interestingly, crypto card products are one of the most sticky products in crypto, with more than 4 times as much retention as any other blockchain applications like DEXs or NFTs. What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. So what's next? Here are the top 5 trends to watch out for. Number 1, we are still so early. Even though B2B volumes have crossed about 40 billion in annualized run rate this year, according to our study, in a recent slide from the 2025 Visa Investor Day presentation, Visa called out B2B money movement to be a $145 trillion opportunity. Rob Haddock, GP of Dragonfly, called it a $200 trillion opportunity recently on Bankless. We are only 0.03% there. Number 2, while US dollar denominated stablecoins still account for over 99.9% of all stablecoin supply, non-US dollar backed stablecoins just crossed $500 million in supply in Q1 2025, with Circle's EURC driving a majority of that growth. In non-stablecoin land, the FX market does about $2 trillion in daily volume, according to a recent study by BIS. Comparatively, stablecoin volumes are only 1% of that. Again, we are so early with stablecoins and FX. And new players in the space like Mento and OpenFX are working super hard to bring FX on-chain. Number 3, RWAs beyond stablecoins are coming. While much smaller than stablecoin volumes, RWA supply is up to $7 billion in the most recent month, and up 350% year over year. More excitingly, both Ondo and Kraken have recently announced their plans to offer 24/7 trading of tokenized US equities for anyone in the world. And as Nick Carter likes to say, crypto is stalling for finance, and we are seeing it under our noses now. Number 4, Artemis is seeing an emergence of vertical specific chains as well, especially the stablecoin and RWA being on the rise. We see projects like Codex, a purpose-built stablecoin chain backed by Circle that's optimized for safe, cheap stablecoin payments and fast stablecoin payments, or Plume, a purpose-built blockchain for RWAs, focusing on tokenizing real-world assets such as alternative assets, commodities, bonds, and even abstract data sets like economic indicators. Finally, number 5. Despite the good news of the Genius Bill advancing through the Senate, for our international friends in the audience who aren't as familiar with the US legal system, there's still several major hurdles the bill has to pass through, including passing through the Senate again, then a House vote, and then finally signing by the president. So it's still going to take a while. But that said, 2025 is proving to be a landmark year for crypto regulation, with over 37 jurisdictions having passed or are passing regulation around stablecoins. This represents 65% of the world's population and 80% of the global payment volume. Regulatory clarity is finally coming. Thanks again for coming to my talk. For more insights, come to our brand new stablecoin report page, stablecoin.fyi. And please don't forget to reach out to Artemis if you have any crypto or stablecoin analytics related questions. Thank you.